Hey guys, it's Kim here with Fairly Fiber Fun. Thanks so much for joining me today on a spinning with beads tutorial. Now today we're going to learn 4 different ways to spin with beads where you anchor the bead into your single as you go. The first step is to thread your beads onto little tufts of wool. And as long as you're using 6mm or larger beads, I recommend larger because the 6mm don't really show up very well. So anything bigger than a 6mm bead is going to work fairly well. Thread those with a little crochet hook onto little tufts of wool. And once you've gotten all your beads loaded up onto your wool, then you can start spinning. This is the most tedious part of the project, and I had so many beads to use, I quickly got tired of loading them onto wool and decided to set some aside for a different spinning with beads method that I will have a tutorial for later on. So now that our beads are all on the wool and I've got a little pile of beaded tufts on my lap, then it is time to begin spinning. And I like to get quite a bit going at the beginning, and then I start spinning away. Here, this is the first bead. I was having a lot of trouble with that tuft not wanting to behave, and you can't see it, but I did anchor the bead. Well, the wool kind of went around the bead for me. So that tuft messed up and that anchored the bead. I didn't have to worry about it. So that one doesn't really count as far as a method. I mean, 0.1, 1.0. Okay, so here is the first method that I tried, where you take the end of your fiber, you break your fiber off of the batt or roving or whatever, and you leave a little tip of it to go around the bead. And then you spin your tuft and then you reattach your fiber. We'll show you that again here in a moment, and I will try to explain it a little bit better because I'm not sure that made sense. So you break your wool, overlap the tuft with your floofy end, where the floofy end goes past the bead, and then as you spin that together, your bead is anchored. And then you reattach and keep spinning. So once you get that down, then there is another method. So method number 1, you simply overlap your tuft with your floofy end of your single and just keep spinning. On this one, you take a piece of your tuft and you fold it around the bead. So I took some from above the bead and folded it down to below the bead. And then it doesn't matter if your fluffy end of your fiber goes over the bead or not. Your bead is anchored. So that is a very popular way to do it, and it's actually how I learned. Can you learn something if you've never done it? I think so. I watched videos, and that was the most popular way to do it. Now, here I'm going to show you my third and favorite way to add your tufts, your beaded tufts, and that is to draft out a very thin section from your batt and overlap that over the bead, and then spin your beaded tuft into that thin drafted bit. And as you can see, that bead is not going anywhere. So that you don't have to break your batt. You don't have to separate the fibers. You just lay your tuft in there next to a very thin spot that you drafted, and you spin it all together. Just make sure you don't draft so thin that you separate your batt from your single. Otherwise, you have to do something slightly different. And actually, I did that once, and so I had to reattach my batt. And I did that like I would any other time, just attached it above the bead so that as I dropped it down, I would go around the bead. Okay, I hope that made sense. Now, the fourth and final way that I found you can attach a beaded tuft to your single is to core spin your tuft, which creates a lot of headache if you don't know what you're doing, like I don't. I did not figure out how to do this properly, but here you've got some neat texture with a bead in the center, and honestly, I think this is perfect for really big beads. I don't think the little beads would even show up if you did them like this, but the big ones look really good core spun around your single. So that is the final method for attaching beads into your single or spinning beads into your single. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and I hope it was helpful and made sense, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!